Okay. I know, it's just something about this place once you actually get here.
Yeah, you'll be living here soon, watch out.
Oh no, don't, I know.
He threw me out 3 times. It was like a blonde Australian can't possibly be a qualified winemaker who knows what she's doing. So in the end, Dominique Lafon, who I used to work for, who has got a bit more clout than I have, he came to the office with me, charmed the woman that was there and helped me get the dossier through so that I could get the bloody thing done.
Can you walk me through some of the biggest challenges that you went through those first few years?
There was a time not that long ago when the domains were passed down to the sons or the son-in-laws. The women were not in the winery, they were not making wine. And I'm sorry to say it, but France is not a entrepreneurial minded country. I feel like in Australia it's much easier to set something up and you can actually make some money from it. Here you just feel like, you really do feel like you're fighting the system.
Yeah. So then how does an Australian get to Burgundy?
You take the wrong turn? No. I'm already quite impressed with myself that's the recognition that I've got.
Yeah.
And he's like, you've won Négociant of the Year. And I'm like, bullshit.
Jane Eyre, thank you for having me today on a beautiful day in Burgundy.
Oh yes, well, it's always like this here, Mackenzie.
Oh, always?
Always, every day. You know, it's just like Queensland, beautiful one day, perfect the next.
I mean,
except maybe with some different things to drink.
I was asking you about, have you watched A Year in Burgundy or Somme?
Or Jane Eyre. None of the above.
Okay, so then how does an Australian get to Burgundy?
You take the wrong turn? No. Well, I was hairdressing. When I left school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I sort of fell into hairdressing, and I ended up working at Shibui, which was, you know, at the time, it was one of the best salons in the country. And I was good, but I wasn't great. And it may be because I wasn't passionate. It's like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So it's like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
It was literally one day I was talking to a client about a restaurant I'd been to or a wine I'd had. And we were not talking Burgundy at this point in time. And I just realised that was really what interested me. And I think I thought about it for 2 days. And it's like, I don't necessarily want to sell somebody else's wine. I want to make it.
Yeah.
And so I decided I want to be a winemaker. And my partner and I at the time decided that we were going to go to Europe for a holiday. I said, look, I want to go and do vintage. And I would have gone anywhere. I would have gone to Spain, to Germany, to Italy. Like it just didn't matter. It was just I wanted to go and do a vintage to make sure that I liked my new job. Like I don't think I even knew where Burgundy was. So that was in 98. So we came, I did vintage. I had no idea what I was doing. Picking in the rain, but just worked for a fabulous family and I loved it. So I decided that, yes, I'm happy to do this. So I got back to Melbourne, enrolled to do my winemaking degree at Charles Sturt University, and then I met Philip Rich, who at the time was the wine buyer for the Prince of Wales Stoke House Group.
Yep.
And I just said, you know, I've come back from Burgundy and I'm looking for a job. And so I started working at the Prince, which was amazing because I would see a lot of the people that I was at uni with who were working at wineries. They just didn't get the exposure to the wines that I was getting to see working for the Prince, because we would do like staff tastings and it would be Rieslings from around the world or Pinots from around
they
the
have
world.
such an amazing collection
and just the wine culture there at the time about educating staff, and if you were enthusiastic and you wanted to learn, well, you could learn and you could taste anything that was going on, you could be involved in. So that was great for my palate training to actually learn what great wine tasted like. Yeah. It's a good place to meet winemakers. You know, I want to make Pinot and Chardonnay, and so Burgundy's the place to be. So I actually left, I went and worked for Ernie Lozen in Germany. Came back here it was actually the weekend of the Vente du Vin in November, and I went to see Dominique Lafon, who I'd worked with the previous year, and said, look, I've left Australia looking for work. And he was great. He was like, you know, I'd really love to, but it's really hard paperwork, etc. I don't think I can help you. So I'd organised
a lot of paperwork here.
It's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
So, and you know, I was over 30, so probably a little bit harder. And so I'd organised to go back to Australia, and just before Christmas, his secretary sent me an email to say, come for 3 months. So came here. My first day on the job was in Montilly in January, in the vineyards, in the snow.
I was going to say, it would be freezing.
what am I doing? I don't really like being cold. And I'd worked at Cullen in Margaret River in 2001.
Yeah.
And the fruit would be picked, it would go into the core room, you would process it, you'd start very early in the morning, in the afternoon you go to the beach.
Yeah.
Why don't I want to move to Margaret River? and go surfing?
I know. Yeah. It's something about this place once you actually get here.
Yeah, you'll be living here soon, watch out.
Oh, no, don't. I know.
So it's just, it's Pinot. And I always say, if I'd done one vintage in Piedmont, there's a good chance I'd speak Italian and maybe not French. But here we are, and it's just, you get so many disappointments with Pinot more than you might do with, maybe a more reliable variety from, a more reliable growing region like, a Cabernet or a Syrah that we were even talking about before. But the great thing about Pinot is, and I think Riesling is also a variety that really shows you where it's from. So, like we were talking about before, the colour's different. You really see in a hot year.
Yeah.
You get a darker colour. This is a 21 that we've got here. And it's much lighter and much paler. And so you start to see, okay, well, that's the characteristics of that particular vintage. And you really do see how the class system works here between a village wine, a Premier Cru, and a Grand Cru. And there's so many nuances, and it's quite subtle, the differences. But as you get to explore it, they become sort of more and more obvious.
Yeah.
And so when it's great, there's nothing better.
Yeah.
And that's what sucks you in.
I completely agree. And we were talking before about, obviously there's all those winemaking decisions, but Burgundy is a great and not so great thing at times with all the laws, but it really, you have to go on gut feel to really just appreciate the terroir and where the actual grapes are coming from, and it shows, and you kind of just then nurture it to then get it to this point.
Yeah, and you pick. And it's often people ask me when I'm picking a new appellation and, what do I go and look for? It's like, so you go to a vineyard and you look at it, see, have they done a good job? You taste the fruit, how's it taste? Also, it's the relationship between the grower and you. Like, do you actually even like each other? Are they going to reliably supply you fruit every year? And prices are expensive. People say, how do you choose? And it's just a gut feel. And it's like, this is what it's going to cost me to buy this fruit, so I have to sell it for this price. And for me, it's like, can I justify it? Do I think it's worth it? Can I stand behind this bottle and talk to somebody about it?
Put your name on it.
And put my name on it. Yeah. And it is my name. It's not... but that's a really important part of it for me. So this is a wine that I didn't choose the fruit necessarily. I didn't vinify it either. But we were talking earlier about the hospice.
Yes.
And coming from Australia, which is a young industry, to the old world, and being in Burgundy, and the vineyards have been here for 2,000 years. And the story of the hospice goes back to the 14th or the 12th century when there was no hospital for the poor in Beaune. So Nicolas Rollin, one of the chancellors of the Burgundy dukes, who were very, very powerful at the time, proposed this idea of building a hospital for the poor, which is the hospice.
Yes.
The last babies were born there in 1970. And I love, even though I'm not making the wines, but we go and bid on the wines, pick them up in January, and then I do the aging and decide when I'm going to bottle them. And again, you get your name on the label of something that's so old and is such a great part of the history of Burgundy and of Beaune. Without it, we wouldn't have a hospital in Beaune. We would have to go to Chalon or Dijon. And it's just, I love being really part of something that
gives back.
That gives back, and is also something that is so old. And has been going for so long. It's got the heritage.
Yes.
And I love, and that's one of the things I love about being part of the hospice. Yeah. So the hospice owns vineyards, even today. And over the years, people have donated vineyards to the hospice. Even now, Favorly this year donated some Clos Vougeot Grand Cru. I mean, that plot's worth millions of euros. They donated a parcel, which keeps their heritage going, because there will be a Cuvée George Favorly. But over the years, people have donated vineyards. So the hospice owns 60 hectares of vineyards throughout the Côte d'Or, mainly Premier Cru, Grand Cru. And they have contractors that look after those parcels. It's the same people that look after those parcels every year. And then they have a winery that's just outside of Beaune. So Ludovine, who's the winemaker, she makes the wines.
Yep.
And then the third Sunday of November is the auction.
Yes.
So we all go and taste. And then you bid on the wines. Now, Sotheby's looks after it, so it's much more international. So you can sit in your armchair in Melbourne and you can bid. It. You can bid on a barrel and you can buy it, and then you can go, oh, right, now I've got this barrel, and it has to be aged and bottled by a Négociant in Burgundy. You can't go, all right, I'm going to take it to the Yarra Valley and get my mates
do it there.
It has to be aged and bottled here, then it can leave. So that's where we sort of step in as Négociant. So we either go and bid at the auction, or somebody's done the bidding and then they come to us and go, look, we've bought this barrel, but we need someone to look after it.
That's where the bottle comes
from.
So
this bottle is a 2021 Charlotte Dumais, which is a blend of 2 Corton Grand Cru vineyards. So this is a cuvee that I try and get every year. It keeps the hospice going. There's also, they pick a barrel each year called the Pièce de Président, and that always goes for a much higher price. There's always some celebrities here that help do the bidding. But the really cool thing is actually this producer, barrel maker Cadu. So I was visiting the Cooper in 2021, and he said, come and have a look at this. And they've got this barrel there that was being made for the Pièce de Président, which always goes to a particular charity, the funds raised.
Yep.
But the wood came from the tree. The rest of that tree is the spire of Notre Dame in Paris. Because when Notre Dame got rebuilt, it was all being rebuilt like it was before. So a lot of people, a lot of the forests are privately owned. So they were donating wood to rebuild it. And they needed a tree of, I think it was 14 metres or something like that, to be one piece long enough for the spire. And there was some extra, and it's oak. So the extra was made into a barrel that then got sold at the auction, which I just think is the coolest story. So that kind of stuff, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very cool.
I know. It's, I mean, we were talking about before, Burgundy is full of stories, but so I get to santé. And so what would you say, I mean, coming across here and then starting your own label, and can you walk me through some of the biggest challenges that you went through those first few years?
Getting here was okay, and I got away with not having to speak too much French because your job didn't necessarily involve communication skills. When I started the business, you have to have a Négociant license. So there's this little number here. That is my number.
Yep.
So you have to
explain what a Négociant is.
Yeah, okay. So because it's different in different places. So a Négociant basically means that I don't own vineyards. I'm not an estate. Or a domain. Traditionally, the Négociants were the ones that actually got the finished wine to market, because Burgundy wasn't really doing estate bottling until the early 70s. A lot of the growers, the domains, were growing the fruit, either vinifying and then on-selling, or selling the fruit. And the Négociants are really the ones that had access to market. So they would go around, let's say if I'm a domain here, they would come and buy some of my barrels, and then they might go to Ben's place and they buy some of his barrels. And if it's from the same appellation, then they blend it, but they would have their label on it. So as a Négociant, you have the right to buy grapes, buy grape juice, buy wine in tank, wine in barrel, wine in bottle. So I could technically go and buy bottles from Domaine de la Romanée Conti, but put my label on it. It would have to say where the vineyard is. So if it was La Tâche, for example, but then it could say Maison Jane Eyre, because I have the right as a Négociant to do that.
Yes, a Maison is a Négociant.
Not so I can't. Is the domain, and a lot of domains now are domains and Négociants. Yes, because the supply and demand thing is quite high, and so people will buy fruit from appellations that they don't own, and that's so you can't have a domain if it's Négociant, then it can't have domain on the label, even though they are also a domain, if that makes sense. So what some people do is they even sell their domain fruit to their Négociant arm and bottle it all under sort of like a Maison, for example. Is that clear as mud?
As if Burgundy couldn't get any more complicated.
It can always get more complicated.
So the challenges of building that out and selecting, which plots and which winemakers you're going to work with.
The challenge first of all was to even get the Négociant registered. So you have to go to the douane. They're kind of like the customs, so they regulate everything here. And so I remember going into the office in Beaune and trying to explain to the guy in my very bad French that I wanted a Négociant business. He threw me out 3 times. It was like, a blonde Australian can't possibly be a winemaker, like a qualified winemaker who knows what she's doing. So in the end, Dominique Lafon, who I used to work for, who had got a bit more clout than I have, he came to the office with me, charmed the woman that was there and helped me get the dossier through so that I could get the bloody thing done. Because it really was. And the first time as well, I went to the Chamber of Commerce and just to find out what I had to do. And this very nice woman spent all this time and she gave me an A4 sheet front to back with names of all these people I had to call to get the business registered. And I walked out and I think I just cried because I didn't even know didn't even know where to start. Eventually somebody said you can just go to one of the accountants in town and they can help you. So just setting up to be legal was a hurdle. Then you got to find grapes. That was helpful because I'd already been here by then, 15 years, 10 years. So I knew people, but I didn't know that there were these courtiers that existed, which are basically brokers who know who's buying and who's selling. So I started meeting a few courtiers, and then you've got to try and decide also. Where, and it's almost like, well, what do I want? And originally I was looking for Beaune or Pommard because that's some of the appellations that we had where I was working. And Benjamin LaRue rang me and said, look, there's a parcel of Sauvigny Le Beaune available. I'm like, I hadn't really thought about Sauvigny, but I'll go and have a look at the vineyard. Turned up, the grower lived 3 doors up from me in the little village where I used to live. Used to see him on his tractor all day. I'm like, if he's selling grapes, I'm buying.
Yeah.
So that was a really nice start, but it's constantly trying to find fruit because the yields are often smaller than they used to be. There's a high demand for Burgundy. There's a lot more micro-négociants around, the smaller people making wine, so there's more competition.
Yeah.
Prices have increased a lot. One of the biggest challenges is just the cash flow, because you're buying before sort of 18 months before you're selling, and then you've got another vintage in there. So it's just trying to keep the business liquid cash-wise is probably the ongoing challenge. Yeah. Yeah, and just trying to get a constant fruit supply. Yeah,
as we were saying before, it's twofold, right? It's running a business and then actually making the product.
Yeah. And then finding the homes for it. And it's one thing to be, good at whatever your job. So mine's to make wine. I think over the years I can do a reasonable job. I've had a lot of good mentors and worked for a lot of amazing people along the way who everyone has helped. But then you've got to find homes for it. And I remember when I made my first wine, the Sauvigny, it was great. The Prince Wine Store actually took the first half. But when you've made 1,500 bottles, and you're starting, you've got to find homes for it. So in the big world of wine, it's not a lot of wine. But when you're holding 1,500 bottles that you then got to sell, suddenly it's...
When you actually see them in front of you, is it physical?
Yeah. Who's going to buy all of these? And then you've got to build the brand.
Yeah.
So that's where it's good when, you get it out to the press. People read about you, people hear about you, you get a few supporters, good restaurateurs.
Yeah, and you've had a lot of amazing press too.
And that has helped enormously along the way.
It's due to what you created. It is. Drink a lot of it when I'm back at home in Melbourne.
Well, I need people like you, so thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to help.
And then I had the stupid idea. Well, I didn't have the stupid idea, but a friend, William Downey, said to me one year, do you want to come and help me for vintage in Australia and I'll give you some fruit? Like Australia was supposed to be a holiday. Yeah. And now I make Pinots in Australia as well, but I do it with friends. I feel blessed that I can work side by side with my friends who are also my mentors and who I think make amazing wines. And
come a long way from that girl that first day in January.
Yes. Yeah.
Pruning vines.
Yeah, I don't have to prune in the snow anymore. Very, very happy about that.
And so I have to ask, the obvious question, the female Australian in Burgundy, which is known for its heritage and generations. Talk me through that.
I want to say it hasn't been as hard as people think, because you just, I got a good break because I got an introduction to someone in the first place. And then they liked me, and then they sort of, then I got introduced to other people's. But there was a time not that long ago when the domains were passed down to the sons or the son-in-laws. The women were not in the winery. They were not making wine. The first couple of years, some of the older guard would come in and you'd see them like kind of looking at you. And certain times of the month, women were not allowed in the winery because they would turn the wine.
Yeah.
And there was one moment when I was actually supposed to go and work for a friend here for Harvest, and it fell through. And he set up for me to go and work for somebody else. As much as I want to, I won't name names. But I rang this particular winemaker, and I was told that, oh no, women don't work in the cellar.
Really?
Okay, thank you.
How long ago was that?
That was in 2004. To this day, I will not buy a bottle of his wine. Don't hold a grudge.
It's all right. I'm like, we can chat about that in the bold
But the great thing was I ended up going and work for Fred Mugnier in Chambord. So I'm very happy that he doesn't mind having women working in his cellar.
Yeah, just casually, what a dream that would have been.
Another introduction. It was great.
Yeah.
So, I've worked with amazing people here, and apart from that, being thrown out of the régie a few times trying to get the license, I really I've had a lot of help. You sometimes see with back to the courtiers again, because they are they hold the cards,
the gatekeepers,
so to speak, of who gets what. And sometimes I do hold my hands up in despair when he's the cousin of this person and the brother of that person, and the godmother's the owner. So you think, oh, I'm so far down here. But then you have a conversation with somebody. As I was saying, I took a group to Faverley earlier on the year.
Yes.
And we were having this conversation about how in 19 I got some fruit from Chambertin through somebody else, but Faverley had the next vineyard. But we needed someone to pick. And I knew Irwin a little bit, but not a lot. But I got on the phone, I'm like, I know you've got the parcel next door. Do you think your team could pick for us? Now, nobody does that. And he's like, yep, sure, here's the number for the woman. We'll do it for you, because it was a barrel, it was 3 barrels or something. But the generosity and the help that you get, and now...
They really come together during harvest, I feel.
Just not even over harvest. There is a community here that's getting better than it was. But what's happened now is Faverley owns their own parcel of Charm, and Irwin gave me the contract. So sometimes it's like, okay,
so all the stars are aligning.
The great God's still, still working, in my favour.
Yeah, no, I know you were saying before, being like, I don't know if I would have been here if I would have known all the challenges, and it's like you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, there are days, maybe we don't get into it, but the French salary is not not the highest in the world. And I'm sorry to say it, but France is not a entrepreneurial minded country. If you just, the minute you want to start your own business, you pay through the nose. It's not. I feel like in Australia, it's much easier to set something up and you can actually make some money from it. Here, you really do feel like you're fighting the system.
Yeah.
Hard. It just feels harder than it should be. And that's one of the frustrating things. It's hard to, the minute you employ someone, you pay through the nose. Like, it's really hard. It's hard to build a business here. Harder, I think, than what it is in Australia.
Yeah.
And that's one of the very frustrating things. I mean, I bought the Charlotte du Mer because Corton is one of my favourite appellations. Yeah. This, as I said, it is bought by other... I actually bid on this. There was one auction that I didn't really have any customers to buy the wines, but I like to go into the auction just to see what's happening. And I had actually been at this lunch, which runs just before the auction on the Sunday, and had a few nice glasses of wine and go into the auction with no intention of buying anything. Jasper Morris comes down and sits beside me, because we always like to have a little bit of a chat. Yeah. And I like to ask him, what we were saying before. I think he's got a great palate. And
and strong enough wines to certainly know what he's talking about.
Knows what he's talking about. So we're having a little bit of a chat. And I'm like, what do you like, Jasper? And, he ran off a few a few of the wines that particularly stood out for him that particular vintage. And then all of a sudden, I've got my paddle up and I've bought, it wasn't a Corton because I needed a bit more cash, but I bought a barrel of Savigny, which is also an appellation close to my heart.
Yeah.
And the wonderful thing, we were talking about social media before, that I literally walked out of the auction and went, okay, I've just bought a barrel of Savigny Le Beaune from the Hospice. Is anyone interested? And I sold it in 5 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I found homes for it, which was
there you go, nice and easy.
Yeah, if only it was always
and that's how easy
and
it
that's
is.
how it rolls. This job isn't hard at all.
Yes, every Australian should fly across the world and have never really spent any time in Burgundy and just start a wine label.
And start a wine label, yeah.
What if you could look back and give yourself like any advice from when you were first starting out, what would it be?
I always probably prided myself that I was doing it on my own, that I didn't need an investor. As I said, a friend
You've definitely done it the hard way.
Yeah, I probably have. So if I was to give my younger self
Australians were lazy.
It depends on the day.
Yeah.
It would have been to perhaps find an investor earlier on and maybe been a little bit smarter about how I built the business, because it just maybe would have allowed me to perhaps secure a few more things a little bit earlier on. But that being said, at that time, I was known as working for somebody else. So it would have had to be someone that was maybe prepared to also sit on a little bit of stock while you build the brand. So that probably would have been my advice to myself, would be have maybe a little bit of a business plan rather than no business plan, and perhaps look at how you could have brought someone else on board that can finance your dream.
Yeah.
Really, maybe in a different way.
What are your thoughts on the future? Is exciting but challenging for Burgundy as well, from everything between climate change to the prices of wine and the fame that Burgundy has had, whether it's for the right reasons or not. What are your thoughts on that? What are you excited about? What are you worried about?
We're lucky here that Burgundy is a bit of a bubble. Sometimes I feel like I don't really live in the real world as far as when other places are maybe having more of an economic downturn. Burgundy still seems to resist it. Part of it is what we were talking about before, that once you get the Burgundy bug, you're very much in hook, line and sinker. But also surface-wise, we're smaller than, say, a region like Bordeaux, for example. So it's already restricted by the amount of wine that can be made here. I mean, Grand Cru, it's 1%.
Yeah, no, not a lot of people talk about that.
Of the vineyard area, the premier crus are, I think, around 16%. So it's small, it's quite finite. So that helps to protect it. I don't enjoy the pricing of Burgundy these days, because as a wine lover, I love to drink wine. And as a producer, there's nothing that gives me more satisfaction than when somebody tells me they enjoyed a bottle of wine that I made, because at the end of the day, it's supposed to be open and drunk and enjoyed. So the prices do become prohibitive to allowing everyone to be able to do that. So that's the bit I don't enjoy, just given the global situation at the moment. People are perhaps being a little more cautious. So things seem to be levelling out. So I'm not unhappy that perhaps the prices of the upward, trajectory of Burgundy pricing has, I think, probably flattened out a little bit at the moment. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah. And one final question. I mean, you do travel a lot with like tastings and things like that. Is there any particular moment, or even here, that felt really surreal to you, where you were like, I've actually found my place here, like I've made it, whether it was an event where you were serving particular wine or an award or just a moment that you had walking through the cellar?
I would lie if I didn't say it was when I won the Négociant of the year. Which is the Revue de Vin de France. Yeah. I would submit my wines every year to, which for me is one of the most important wine guides that is not only used here in France, but importers, when they're looking for new producers, they use it as a reference. It's like the Michelin guide really for domains here. And so I'd always submitted my wines, and I, like Michelin, it's got 3-star system. And so I got in, and then I got 1 star. And then I remember one of the reviewers coming to see me, and he does a lot of the photos. So I remember I was walking out the front of the winery with Roberto, and he said, well, do you know why I'm here? And I knew that I'd been elevated to 2 stars, which already for me is amazing. If you look at the other domains that have 2 stars, like I'm already quite impressed with myself that's the recognition that I've got.
Yeah.
And he's like, you've won Négociant of the Year. And I'm like, bullshit. But for me, that was just something unbelievable. That was not something that I would ever envisage. I like selling my wines in France. It's important for me that the French accept and like what the Australian girl's doing in Burgundy and like the wines. But the press liked it that much. Really, even to this day, I find it quite incredible that that I got that accolade. And still, a lot of the wines still get hand labelled. And when I'm sticking a label on a bottle that says Gevrey Chambertin Premier Cru or Corton Grand Cru, with my name on the label, I still have little wow moments that I get to do that. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
I mean, yeah, just for me personally, your story is so inspiring, and it has been such a pleasure to meet you, really.
Thank you for taking some time on a Saturday to come and have a drink with me. Cheers.
Yes. So it's been 8 months, and where are we right now, and what has changed?
Well, the Négociant is still there, so me making my own wines hasn't changed. My new job has changed a little bit. So we are now in the middle of Pommard, standing at Domaine Comte Armand, also known as Domaine Clos des Epeneaux, which my friends have made the wines here over the last 45 years. I have tasted the cellars, I have had drinks here, I drive past the vineyard and have drunk the wine, and I never for 1 second thought that I would be standing here as the winemaker. So it's changed.
Head winemaker of Comte Armand.
So yes, very exciting. I came to Burgundy with no plan. It was just, I wanted to make wine, so let's go and do vintage somewhere. Yeah. It just was Burgundy by complete and utter chance to begin with, and then I just kept coming back every year. So then it was, well, I want to make wine in Burgundy, I want to live here. So I moved here in 2004, worked for various different domains, and then it was actually Benjamin Leroux, who used to be the winemaker here, said to me one day,
it's like really full circle,
when
isn't it?
When are you going to make some of your own wine? And I was like, I've been thinking about it. So Ben said, look, I'll help you. And so I made my first wine under my own label, actually at Ben's winery in Beaune. So he helped me get started. I think we talked about that, about how I kept getting thrown out of the douane's office because they didn't think that,
yes,
and
Dominique Lafon had to go in.
He had to come and help me. I guess if you had a list of things that you needed to tick if you're a winemaker in Burgundy, then being handed the keys to one of the most famous, very prestigious domains and told that you are now the winemaker and you go and make the wines however you feel like they should be made, never in a million years did I think that would be an opportunity that I would be given. So it's, it's one of those pinch me moments, and I feel very proud, slightly terrified, but very excited. So I think it will be just the first year really getting to know the vineyards and understanding the fruit, and then seeing how they taste during fermentation, and then really trying to work out the things that perhaps I'd like to change, and how I'd like to do it. There might be some barrels that I'll change, but I wasn't asked to come because something had gone terribly wrong. The wines are already delicious. It's just Paul, who's been the winemaker for 15 years, because it seems to be once you've been here for 15 years, you go somewhere else. So he's gone on to a new adventure at another winery, which has given me this opportunity.
It's amazing. There is this kind of like misconception around Pommard being very like masculine and gritty and tough, and we just tried so many of the wines and that is just not the case at all. But what would you kind of say that, the main misconception is?
Oh, I think that Pommard is, exactly. It's seen as wines that, and also it's an appellation that is only red, so only Pinot Noir here. So darker coloured, bigger tannins, quite a masculine wine if you like, whereas if you go to the neighbouring Beaune, which is also only reds, you get more, they're described as being fruitier, more floral, perhaps prettier. And it really depends on where the vineyards are. And also so much of it comes down to a vineyard has its characteristics, but so much of that can be impacted on the winemaking. And 20, 30 years ago, probably everywhere in the world, winemaking was quite different to what it is today. A lot more extraction, a lot more pump downs, punch overs. And so you would get wines that were maybe a little bit sturdier on their feet, perhaps a little bit more tannic. And I think winemaking has just really changed, certainly here. And there is less extraction and the wines are more approachable when they're young. And so I think that also there's a lot of really beautiful Pommard wines that you're discovering. And the Clos is, what surprises me each time is, yes, it's, you know, there's a lot of fruit, but then there's this core, this sort of dark core that's quite dense. You know, there's the licorice in there, but then you've got this seamless transition into the tannins. So it feels like a very complete wine. There's a lot going on. Yeah. It's not necessarily a showy wine, but it shows its pedigree. And I'm, you know, really excited to develop that.
Yeah, and I know your determination and grit, and then I really do look up to you so much, really. And you've become so great friends. So thank you.
Oh,
and
thank you, Mackenzie.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh.